It's a proud moment for me as he's also an alumni of Techcanvass, and I'm also so happy to be talking to him. How did you plan acquiring the knowledge of business analyst? Was it on the job or you learned it? How did that happen? Talk about that journey.
Around 2020, I completed my ECBA certification, and then next 6 months to 1 year, I focused on the learning the skill gaps I have from my profile to the BA role.
But did you have any concerns while switching from one career to another? Did you have any concerns that, okay, if I try to get into business analysis, will there be any problems in terms of salary, in terms of what is the future of business analysis? Did you have any such concerns? Now they have to switch their career to a company where there is a BA profile or BA role. So they have to face the interview. So what would you suggest to these people saying that, okay, if you have done the course, you have learned it, how should they prepare for the interview?
Someone currently looking for a BA roles, they can search on LinkedIn, look at particular roles and responsibilities, key skills they require for, and then work according to it.
Let's start with the very basic question which I always have. The impression which you have had saying, okay, this is how a business analyst works versus what happens in reality. Was there any difference? Good morning, good evening. Welcome to another episode of FutureForward, a podcast series by Techcanvass on artificial intelligence, business analysis, and data analytics. In every episode, we talk to an expert at a topic at length. Today's episode is a special one, as we are going to speak with a professional who made a successful transition into a business analyst role. Our guest brings over 11 years of diverse experience across project management, business analysis, and production support. Currently a senior associate at MSCI, he works on ESG regulatory products, blending financial acumen with sustainability goals. It's a proud moment for me as he's also an alumni of Techcanvass, and I'm also so happy to be talking to him. Hi Shailesh, welcome to this episode of Future Forward. Let's start by telling our viewers about yourself.
Hi Abhishek sir, thank you for calling me for this podcast. My name is Shailesh Sawant, and I am working with MSCI as Senior Associate in the ESG Regulatory Solutions team. I am currently working as a Senior Business Analyst with MSCI, where my role involves working with engineering teams and product research teams to build a data pipeline, which is then sent to the downstream users and clients. So ESG means environmental social governance, and this involves the regulatory product in Europe. I have overall 11 years of experience in the various fields, which is IT, finance, investment banking domain. From background perspective, I've done my engineering in electronics and telecommunication, which I completed from Mumbai University in 2014.
Okay. So tell me, when was your first job and what was the first job?
Yeah. So I joined iGate in 2014 as a fresher campus recruitment, and I was trained in Java by iGate for 3 months. iGate was later acquired by Capgemini in 2016. But though I was trained in a Java platform, but I was then assigned to the investment banking project. It was for an investment banking client UBS. It was a proper operation support role where I started as an L1 operation support role and then moved to L2, which involved debugging and then working with clients, working with users, etc. Fortunately, I got a chance to work in a data center migration project, which was a hybrid role, which involved some BA specific tasks. Later on, I switched to one of the largest asset management firm, BlackRock, in 2017, where I worked for 4.5 years. This role started as an operations profile, where I had to work on one of their core platform, Aladdin, and it involved various responsibilities, working with operations team, working with development and engineering teams, with different stakeholders, working with global teams. Post that, in 2021, I did a switch to MSCI. Which is currently I'm working with from last 4 years. So yeah, overall I have 11 years of experience, with roles varying from business analyst to project management, and domain also got changed. It started with investment banking, then reference data, and then capital markets for some time with asset management background, and now it's ESG, the regulatory project.
So when was that transition which happened to business analyst, and why? I mean, what was that motivation to switch to a business analyst career?
So I had 2 reasons, one is personal and second is professional. So the personal one was the rotational shift. It was taking a toll on my health. because the Capgemini first role, it was like rotational shift. Every month we used to have different shift, morning, afternoon, night. And that's when I decided it is kind of becoming very stagnant. And in operations profile, typically in investment banking domain, you get all the trainings within few months, and around 2 years down the line, like it is like a very repetitive task. So that's where I've identified that this is something not I can do for a very long time. And I've seen like even my leads, my managers, they're still doing the same work, same shifts, rotational shifts again. So I don't see like it can be done for a longer term. Fortunately, that project had to wind up because they had some issues, and I was allocated to one of the data center migration project, which was a transformation project for me. And that's where I worked with BA teams. I worked with senior BA in the requirement gathering, making release notes, making with operations team to work on different aspects of the transformation as well as production. And that's where I identified this can be a good career opportunity for my longer term growth. And then I did a job switch, which was a BlackRock profile in 2017. It wasn't a core BA profile, but it was an hybrid role, which I got to know in the initial interview itself. That's why I opted for this. So I thought like within this role, I can improve myself in a BA role, and then I can learn the other skills which are required.
So this transition from you switched the job and then the transition happened. So how did you plan acquiring the knowledge of business analyst? Was it on the job or you learned it? How did that happen? The journey. Talk about that journey.
Sure. So I can take in multiple steps. So I took around 1.5 years to the entire transition of the profile. So when I joined BlackRock, it was again a hybrid role. It was around 2017. So around 2019, I identified what can be skill set I can learn. What are the certifications available in the market? Because I was looking for a BA as a long-term career perspective. Then I got to know about Techcanvass. So I joined Techcanvass around 2019 December. I joined the ECBA class. That's the first way of learning BA tools. So I joined the proper ECBA certification where I learned about the functional knowledge of BA. And then in next year, the 2020, the COVID year as we know, where I started preparing for the ECBA exam. It was initially tough because there was a remote working shift, and then I was also had to learn in my functional skills as well. But what I did, like I kept to focus on learning on the domain skills and learning on the functional skills from the Techcanvass material as well as book guide. That's where I learned that I can learn these skills from the book as well as the courses available. So around 2020, I completed my ECBA certification. And then next 6 months to 1 year, I focused on the learning the skill gaps I have from my profile to the BA role. I started taking additional responsibilities in my BlackRock profile. I started working on the projects where the BAs are required. In BlackRock, there was no specific BA role as such because it was always operations plus BA or engineering plus BA kind of roles were available. So I tried to involve myself in the documentation part or the projects part in the transformation project, so I can learn the BA background. The one advantage I got, so BlackRock was also moving to agile approach. So they were following very traditional methods back then. So I also got to learn about agile. I was involved in those scrum meetings, different type of initiatives. So I was also able to learn agile methodologies as well on the job. So it was on the job plus off the job, combination of both.
But did you have any concerns while transitioning, switching from one career to another? Did you have any concerns that, okay, if I try to get into business analysis, will there be any problems in terms of salary, in terms of what is the future of business analysis? Did you have any such concerns?
So I started my career in investment banking domain, and this is where I loved the domain itself because capital market is something it was exciting me from the college days. And the only concern I had was once I switched to BA role, will my domain expertise will be entirely lost, or will I have to accept a pay cut in the future? These were some concerns I had. Fortunately, my employer back then also supported me in the transition of the role. I got the additional responsibilities. So that concern was worked upon like within me and my employer. The functional skills was already there. Like I was already working on the documentation part, on the requirement analysis part. I was working with different global teams that helped me to build the rapport with different teams, working on the documentation skill, elicitation, requirement gathering, etc. The major concern was the exact shift, like the change, looking for a role change completely to a BA profile. So that was a concern I had. Like I was looking for the jobs on LinkedIn. I was focusing on the key skill sets given, job description specifically, and then I identified what are the key gaps within. So I took the phased approach, looking at the market available roles, looking at the what others are doing, I also got a help from some of my senior business analysts. So I was still in touch with my previous BA friends, with whom I connected. I understood what were their key skill sets back then, what were their roles and responsibilities, so I can focus on those. And it also helped me in interview preparation as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned a few very important things. One, you looked at the functional skills required for a business analyst, documentation and other things. You also talked about talking to some seniors to get a better idea. So if you want to summarize, saying that, okay, anyone who wants to become a business analyst, what kind of skills they should be looking at? Let's start with the hard skills, then we'll come to the soft skills.
So in terms of hard skills, mostly these are changing to firm, but majority of them are common, like SQL, Excel, documentation specific, where you may have to work on UML, also like some of the tools like Jira and etc. This is something you have to learn from the hard skills perspective. From soft skills, these are basically people skills you need to learn. You need to understand the acumen of development team, their language. You don't have to be a very technically efficient in understanding their skills, but you need to understand what language they are talking about, because ultimately you will be involved in estimation, you will be involved in requirement gathering or providing a high level input to senior management. So you have to understand the way of their working. You have to get yourself comfortable with their skills as well. So you need to know the basics of all. You need to know basics of technical skills and basics of functional, because you need to understand the domain very well as you have to speak with clients and your end users.
You mentioned about ECBA some time back. So did you do the certification? And yes, if yes, what role did it play in your career transition?
Yeah, so I completed my ECBA around September 2020, and I think I started preparation maybe around Jan or Feb 2020. Like I took 6 or 7 months, because this is where the COVID also started, so it took a couple of months of gap to adjust to the new working style. So specifically, ECBA helped me in learning the functional aspects of it, the Babook skill sets, elicitation, etc. So that's where because in the roles, both the roles I had, it was mainly very hybrid ones. So I didn't got a chance to do the theoretical aspects of business analysis. So that's where ECBA helps. So you will get to know about the theoretical knowledge about the BA skills. Practical skills you can learn on the job. You have mentors. You can work on your aspects within the your working work, and then. But this is somewhere like I got to learn the basics and the functional aspects of it from the ECBA.
Okay, so you were already in a job from where your employer also helped you in transition to that role. But let's say, for example, somebody who is working in a completely different industry where there is no BA profile available. Now they have to switch their career to a company where there is a BA profile or BA role. So they have to face the interview. Okay. So what would you suggest to these people, saying that, okay, if you have done the course, you have learned it, how should they prepare for the interviews?
Yeah, I think I also got a lot of messages on LinkedIn, like after completion of ECBA and switching the roles, like how can we do this transition? And you don't have to be very technical profile to start into a BA role, or even a non-technical as well. What I can say is business analyst is a combination of both, a technical as well as functional. There are many opportunities available. So what I've seen on LinkedIn these days, you have very lot of freelancing, remote opportunities available, where you can do as a project. You can work as a project. If your employer allows you with the compliance perspective, you can work on those projects additional to your work, and you can showcase these your projects in your resume, in your interviews. So this can be an add-on of work you can do. You can identify if there are any transformation opportunities available in your role. It can be initial work on transformation. You can do some documentation. You can identify some pain points, because problem solving is the major pain point of business analyst. And if you are good at problem solving, you can be a good better BA. So I think you can focus on those problems from your day-to-day work. You can identify if you can improve some processes at your end. If you can initiate something, because initiative is something always taken into consideration from a BA perspective. So you have to look at from the initiative background, and then you can always work on these freelancing projects, new projects outside. That can be an add-on in your profile, and you can explain this in your interviews. But you need to have certain professional experience, and this can be in your current profile if your employer allows, if your role allows. Otherwise, you can always look for these freelancing and project opportunities.
Yeah, that's very important because that is something which any employer will look at, whether you have some kind of project experience or not. Yeah. So, anything you'd like to kind of reflect back and say, okay, while transitioning, I could have done differently, or something which you could have added to your skill set, which could have helped you better in your career?
So I think one thing I realized once I started giving core BA interviews, that I was lacking in some of the skills which are mentioned in their job descriptions or their roles and responsibility, which I didn't had an exposure earlier. So I think I would have done is go through some of these job roles which I was looking at. Someone currently looking for a BA roles, they can search on LinkedIn, look at particular roles and responsibilities, key skills they require for, and then work according to it. So I did a reverse way of doing it. So I did give some interviews, failed into it, and then I went back. What are the key roles and responsibilities I don't have worked on, or what are the skills they wanted to look for the candidate but I haven't worked on, and then I worked in a reverse engineering way where I started learning about it. I started learning about implementing it in my current profile if there is any possibility of implementing in my current role. So that's somewhere I think I took around 6 months of gap to learn and implement those after giving interviews. If I had to improve, I would have gone through some of these profiles, identify the key gaps, and learn itself, and then start giving interviews.
Right. Now let's move ahead and talk about your business analyst role itself. So how is your typical day goes by?
Yeah. So my current profile involves working with operations team in their understanding their pain points, understanding their current way of working, finding transformation objectives, and then working with engineering team, implementing those changes. These days there's a lot of focus on AI, then there's a lot of focus on data science, implementing those changes, working with operations team to understand their pain points, and working with engineering team to understand their pain points as well, working with our end stakeholders, which are research, product, working on the timeline perspective, because as I work in regulatory project, we have a strict timeline to implement those projects, and we cannot do lot of changes once we go live, because these are regulatory ones, so you need to take certain approvals, very time bound. My roles and responsibility involves working with different teams and working on globally and working on different initiatives. These are not involved with my current team. It also involves the cross-functional projects as well. So these days, the focus mainly is on AI implementation and implementing. How can you improve current processes? How can you bring efficiency? Because the way firm works is you have to work to get some efficiency gain. You have to work on the regulatory operation improvements. So these are my roles and responsibilities. It involves working with global teams, specifically in my location as well as other locations as well. As we have moved to a hybrid working now, so it's mainly remote plus local. But most of this now happens on the remote way, where we have to take calls on the local remotely platforms. These are my roles and responsibilities.
And nowadays, no job can be without challenges, right? So what kind of some challenges you talk about which you face in your current job, or you might have faced in the past as well?
So one of the key challenge after 2020 was adapting to the remote way work, because before that it was in-person work. So you can go to office. If you have any doubts, you can directly ask your seniors. Meetings used to happen in person. Majority of the meetings used to happen in person, where you have to you can go directly speak. Your doubts can be clarified. So once the role shifted to the remote work, it was again a new challenge where you had to adapt to a situation where you have to understand people's aspects, their thoughts on a call. Then you have to ask them questions, because one of the key aspects of BA role is you have to ask questions, understand the problems. So that was another challenge. And then again, when the COVID went down and it again started a remote and plus hybrid working, so you again have to adjust accordingly. So whenever you are working from office, you have to make sure that you are connecting with your stakeholders, have some in-person workshops, in-person meetings, and then again go back to your remote working again, and you can then always have these conversations online, understand their aspects. The problem mainly challenge I face is when you are working hybrid way, some of your colleagues are still working in office, some of your colleagues are working from home. Not always your cameras are turned on, so you don't see themselves, right? So you have to understand message behind their what they are speaking on. You have to understand their pain points. At the same time, you have to understand your management goals, because you certainly have some objectives to meet quarterly, half yearly or annually. So you have to understand your objectives and goals, and you have to align yourself, so you don't have to lose your track. And that's what I feel is one of the biggest challenge, because sometimes in the remote working concept, you have a lot of calls going on, back to back calls. You have to make sure you are taking some notes, or you have some to-do list, and you have to continuously work on it, because we have found that project just lags because of continuous calls. So you have to make sure that you are not losing the track. You're making sure you're doing some tangible efforts to the project outcome, and there is some progress in your project. And that's where I think the check-in calls help, refinement calls does help to you, and retrospective calls. So retrospective with your technical project managers or your manager or your operations team, it helps you where you are lagging and where you can improve yourself as an BA and improve yourself as an individual as well.
Right. So let's move ahead and think about the career and the progression paths for a business analyst. So first of all, let's start with the very basic question, which I always have, is that the impression which you have had saying, okay, this is how a business analyst works versus what happens in reality. Was there any difference?
Yeah, a lot. So my first job, like I said about the data center migration project, I got a chance to work with very closely with one of the BAs. So initially I used to find it is more of a documentation job where you just have to document things. You just have to work with developers for getting some documentation done. So that was a myth I had. Once I started working on a BA role, then I identified it is not only a documentation job. You have to understand techniques behind it. You have to understand the technical acumen of the developers. You have to understand the knowledge of domain as well, what your clients are looking at, what your stakeholders are looking at, and you have to learn a lot about the domain. So it is not only about your current role. It might be the current project you are working on, but you have to also look at the cross-functional impact as well. So these are somewhere you have to learn a lot. You have to continuously learn about the domain, improve your knowledge, because once you understand what your clients and your stakeholders want, only then you can work with your operations or your engineering folks. So that's where I think the key focus is, and that's what I learned. Like you have to continuously learn about the domain, and domain also gets changed continuously. So there is a continuous shift in your domain knowledge as well. Whatever products you worked earlier, within 1 or 2 years, currently the trend changes, your aspect changes, your software also gets changed. So you have to continuously learn your new softwares as well. You have to work with your engineering leads to understand their objectives, because they are also looking for certain initiatives which you are currently not aware of. These are the biggest challenge what I noticed once you move to BA, and some of the myths which I had earlier.
Right. So from a business analyst perspective, right, what are the, how do you see they can grow? What are the career paths which are typically available to a business analyst?
Yeah. So someone can start as a junior business analyst or business analyst, and then they can move to senior business analyst, business architect, process architect. There are job roles available like technical project manager, project manager. Some of the organizations which are very much agile, they don't have a typical BA roles. So you will find roles such as transformation manager or project manager or transformation associate, etc. So you have to look for the roles and responsibility within these BA profiles. And it can be mix of BA and project management as well. Because as you move ahead, one of the key skill set your management will be looking at is a project management, because you will have junior BAs to work on the business analysis core skill sets. Then you will have to work on the project management level. On a higher load, you will also have to work on the program management perspective. So you will have to look at the bigger projects handling as a program. So there can be different perspectives. It can be technical project program manager. It can be a program architect or project architect, where you have a key requirements. Then there are a lot of new roles coming up, where you have governance, ethics profiles as well. AI governance, AI ethics is one of the key skills that people are looking at. So there are different roles and opportunities. So you don't have to only stick yourself looking at the name business analyst itself. You have to look at these profiles as well. Like you have to look at specific roles as transformation, project specifically. So these are also having some alignment with the business analyst profiles.
Okay. And what do you think is going to be the impact of AI on the business analyst profile?
Certainly. So AI is going to have impact on everyone, not only business analyst. But what I see from my current role, it is going to impact junior developers a lot. So a lot of the junior development work of maybe doing the hardcore development is something getting replaced with AI, because we can see that some of the core programs can be written by AI. Some of the operations role can be replaced by AI, or not entirely replaced, can be AI assistants. But BA is somewhere where it cannot be entirely replaced by a AI tool, because you need to have certain way of understanding your client requirements, and there are multiple stakeholders. So if you look at current prompt models we have, these are mainly some of them are reasoning ones, some of them are very basic ones, where they can understand the context of a very one person who is speaking with AI. Whereas in business analyst, you have to work with multiple teams, multiple members, understand their ethics, their perspective, and then work on a solution. So that's where BA's role cannot be entirely replaced by AI. Some of the data heavy tasks can be replaced by AI. So now the data analysis can be done using AI. So you can just put some Excel file and your AI can give you insights very easily. That might be one of the earlier tasks BA used to do, but that can be done by AI. But now what a BA can add a value, BA can bring in how AI can bring in efficiency, what cost effectiveness can AI bring in. You can also identify new projects in your firm using AI, which BA can work and initiate on. You can also get efficiency gains, cost savings, etc. Where I can see is the biggest opportunities is AI ethics and AI governance. So these are the new openings, the job openings, where we will see BA working on governance, ethics aspect of AI, because not all the jobs or all the projects allows you to use AI. Some of the projects there are still you have an governance on, like you cannot use AI in particular project. If you are using, you have to disclose it is used by AI. So that's where the blended approach of AI plus the BA will make an progress. So I can see like BA have to learn AI tools. We have to learn AI tools to do our work in a better way. It can be used for your interviewing techniques. It can be used for your workshops. Even it can use to modify your emails in a better way. You can put your context, but it will always have an assistance, because AI will not replace human beings overly. People with AI skills will replace people with doesn't know AI. So that's where we can found that we have to have a blended experience. So we have to learn AI, but yeah, not very fearful of AI tools.
Yeah, well said. So, last question. Anything you'd like to say to people who are looking to transition to a business analyst role? Any kind of word of encouragement or any advice which you'd like to share?
Sure. So a lot of people currently look at BA as an entry point from their career perspective, and some of them they just want a BA profile at the beginning. So you will not get a BA profile if you don't have a previous BA skill sets worked on. So you have to look for a blended skill sets, maybe a techno-functional role. It can be a operations role where you can apply your BA skill sets. It can be a engineering role where you can apply your BA skill sets. So you can always learn these skill sets. You can always be very open for these profiles if you're looking to start your career as a BA. Some of the people, they just worry about what they have done in previously. It will be entirely wiped out because they're moving into new role. It will not happen in that way, because your domain skill set always adds a value. what I've seen, most of the successful BAs, they start from a very non-technical background, but they learn techniques over the job. Some of them they don't start their jobs as a BA. They start their profile maybe as a developer or maybe as an operations role, and then eventually they move to BA or architect level role. So you have to look from the career growth perspective. You have to look at larger picture, not like immediate gain because you are looking at a BA role. You just look for them that and just you apply for that profile. So start looking at those. Start looking at alternatives. Even while doing your interview preparation, do make sure that you go through job descriptions, key skill set, and then apply that in your resumes. Apply in your interview preparations. Start giving mock interviews. That's what I also learned. So in my job interviews, initially I had like 5-6 of failed interviews, and that's where I find my answers were changing, and it was not giving consistency to the interviewer. And that's where maybe they were thinking that this person has not done this particular role. So you have to be very specific. If you're not worked on any project, don't try to be fake on it, because all of these interviewers, they have like 10, 12, 15, 20 years of experience. They can easily catch your fake experience. So you have to be very genuine in your explaining your experience. It can be your freelance project. It can be your project which you have done in your current profile or outside of your work. Explain it genuinely. Don't try to be fake it, because fake experience can be easily caught these days. You have AI tools as well. Interviewer can easily catch by that. So you have to be very genuine. Whatever tasks are given by you by interviewer, it can be a case studies and all. What this we are also seeing it. So whenever we are giving some case studies, people are just using ChatGPT and giving a solution. What we are doing, we're doing reverse engineering. We're putting the document into ChatGPT and taking if it is done by ChatGPT yourself or not. So AI can tell you whether it is done by ChatGPT by itself or there is some human work done it in. So you cannot fake your experience. You cannot fake your case studies and all. So do genuine work on it, because interviewer can easily catch you by using these tools. If you have access, interviewer also have access to those tools. So make sure that be very genuine on your skill sets. Work on some projects. Make your profile efficient way in terms of BA profile, and look for certain roles. Key areas and focus you have to be always work on. And I think this is somewhere everyone can work on. And so then once you are ready to apply your key skill sets, then you can start applying your BA roles. There are many myths around in market, like business analyst is a very technical profile, which is not. People find that business analyst is very functional. That is also not true. So it is a combination of both. So you have to be very open about the role, and you have to learn it. Basically, you have to be a very good problem solver, and you have to be always open to work with people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I'm sure the experience which you have shared and also the journey, it will be very helpful for anyone who is trying to become a business analyst. Thank you so much, Shailesh, for your time.
Thank you, Abhishek sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.